All right, so I do actually have the best way, or I do have the perfect way to start this. When you're taking a shower, do you wash your legs?
Yes.
Yeah, see, that's how I reacted too. But apparently, people don't wash their legs because like the soap just runs down their body. So they
Well,
figure
I
just
mean, a bare minimum, you have to at least rinse your body off and kind
yeah,
of just like get everything. But I mean, I guess how much it depends on how dirty you are. I mean, you can always feel if you've got a layer of grime on you. You're gonna do a
yeah,
lot more, but yeah.
yeah. Because I don't know, man. I fucking when I'm doing it, I always wash my legs. Like I don't like. I think at minimum you got to wash your ass and your balls. Because if you don't wash, you know that stuff builds up over time. So
Yes,
yeah, so you got to wash
that
that.
is true.
Efren does not wash his legs. Um, he says it, it just rinses down, so it's
That's,
good.
I mean, it's better than nothing, but
Yeah.
it's better than nothing. So
I
it's
even
kind
wash
of
my feet, man.
it's the worst job that you do.
I even wash my feet. Um, I don't really care too much about the soap though. Like when I go to the gym, I just use their fucking soap, and it's like I don't know, probably the cheapest soap you could possibly get your hands on with all
Oh
the
yeah.
minerals and metals and shit that
Oh
you
yeah,
don't
it's
want in
real
there.
cheap. It's real cheap.
Yeah.
And that, is it a liquid or is it a bar soap? Nah, it can't be a bar. Please tell me it's not a bar soap.
It is not a bar soap, although I have
That would be
used
nasty.
a bar soap in a public restroom that I didn't bring before. Not in a restroom, sorry, public shower. Yeah, it was in Germany, and it was one because like when you're getting ready to go to a training rotation or something, there's like so many different fucking things that you got to bring. Like they have a whole
Mhm.
list of shit. So naturally, you're gonna forget something. Like you usually expect that you're gonna forget something. You're just like, oh shit, what's it gonna be this time? I hope it's not anything too crazy. And this time, luckily, it was just soap. Because soap really isn't that big of a deal. Uh, and so I went there and I found a bar of soap. I just fucking rinsed it off because I was like, if I can rinse it off, then I'll rinse some of the soap off. That get that layer off, then it's like a brand new bar of soap.
Totally, that's how it works.
It is, man. What the hell are you talking? You just rinse off the layer,
You
and then
don't
all the
know where
layers
that
under it
yeah,
never been
those
touched.
layers haven't touched something, but you don't know where that bar of soap's been. My dog is gonna attack my phone.
Uh-uh.
No. There you go.
Well, it's cool to finally see him. I didn't know that was the kind of dog. I don't know what
Corgi
kind of dog
dachshund
I
mix.
thought you had.
I've told you he's a Corgi dachshund mix. He's
Oh,
I
see,
went to
that's why I didn't
I
know what he
went to
would look
move him
like.
at all and he immediately just rolled over.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I've never heard of that kind of dog. But
Here, let me come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Now
well,
I want him to
and
do something, so he's just gonna be just upside down.
and you don't
If
really
I
look like I thought you would. I thought you would be very disorderly and have like really long hair and not
I
having
used
showered
to
for
have
a few
really long
days.
hair.
And
No, I work at a bank. I have to shower every day. I have
I
to be
know
very clean and presentable.
I'm joking, but
I used
you
to have
used to have
really
long
long
hair.
hair just until a few months ago actually. I was just I don't really know why I was growing it out. I actually had it down to almost my about pretty much my shoulders.
Yeah,
I just had it pulled. I just always had it pulled back. My hair, like it still goes back now, but I just as it grew out, I just kept on having it pulled back until I could get it into a small ponytail.
nice.
And then I'm getting a new job very soon where I'm not allowed to have a beard, which is why this is shorter, and I'm not allowed to have long hair. So I was going to start trimming it shorter and shorter, get it slowly back down to this length. But as soon as I couldn't put it in a ponytail, it just did whatever it wanted. No amount of like washing it, brushing it, combing it, hair gel, anything, nothing worked. It just did whatever it wanted.
Do you care if I mention what you're trying to get into?
I don't mind.
Okay, I don't know because you said my job or I'm getting into a job. I didn't know if you were trying to be like discreet about it, but
No, no.
yeah. So you're trying to firefight, right?
Hmm.
And that's why you can't have the beard
Yeah, you're not
because of the
allowed to
mask.
have any kind of. You're allowed to have a mustache, obviously classic mustache, but you're not allowed to have any kind of beard. It can't be long, short. You can't have stubble. You have to be completely clean shaven. Otherwise, the masks that they wear doesn't get a good seal,
Now,
and you
are
want a
you
good
allowed to have
seal.
the Hitler beard and stash?
Um, the Hitler
Or
stash.
okay, stash, not beard. Yeah, the
You can
Hitler
have the
stash.
Hitler. Yeah, the Hitler beard is actually preferred, but the Hitler stash. I mean, you. I don't think it's against the rules per se, but
Yeah,
they'll probably find a rule that you're breaking by doing that. I don't know.
I guess. Yeah. Um. Yeah, because I remember that was the thing in the military is you're technically allowed to have the Hitler stash or the pedo
All the way
stash.
up to like, does it have to be? You can't go past the corners of your mouth, or
I think that's what it is. I think like if you do this, like it
I mean,
shouldn't touch your fingers.
his was like right here. It
Yeah.
was just I forget what it's called. There used to be before it was the Hitler stash. There was an actual name for it, and
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah. Now everyone just
It's just the Hitler stash. I
there was a
know
millions of people that would have really enjoyed that mustache had Hitler not fucked it
it's
up.
an easy one to grow.
Yeah.
Who was it? I think it was Mike Michael Jordan. I want to say there was somebody. It was an athlete. I want to say Michael Jordan. He was trying to bring it back,
Yeah.
and he briefly had it. Nobody raised a stink about it. Um, I mean, it's Michael Jordan. He just kind of does what he does whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it didn't obviously it didn't catch on, but nobody said anything bad about it.
I wonder how it would be in Germany if like Czech
Ooh,
wanted to grow a Hitler stash and just walk around with it.
I think he'd get a lot of mixed. I've talked to him a couple times, and yeah, there's he said he gets the feeling that there's a lot of repressed emotion about a lot of German citizens. So I think he'd get a
Yeah.
pretty mixed.
Yeah.
Publicly, probably a lot of booze.
Well, and he's got that meme, if you remember, where it's like the beer glass, and at the top of it's like, "Hey man, how you doing? How's college going?" And then at the bottom it's like, "Hitler really wasn't that bad, man. Like he's actually not that bad of a guy, bro. Like all the Germans were just people, man. Like."
No. Oh,
um, but I mean, it is kind of true. Like, if if you think about no, okay, not Hitler. Not saying Hitler was like
okay.
not a. I'm not saying Hitler was a good guy. Um, he's obviously got like some crazy ass mental illness. Um, like a whole fucking mixture of them. But the people at the time were just people,
Oh
like
yeah,
they were just trying to pay their fucking bills, man, with all this craziness going on. And
yeah, and they had just come out of the First World War, and they got the bill for it. They were demonized, even though they didn't start World War One. They were
yeah,
on the bad side. Everybody blames them for World War One. So everybody just it was hating on the Germans. They were going through a recession. Just everything sucked. Life sucked. It was very stressful. So here comes this angry. Everybody's upset, and here comes this angry guy that is just speaking. He's putting into words what everybody's feeling a lot better than anybody else was, and he had a lot of political aspirations, um, and he knew how to work a crowd. He was not a very approachable person. Like that was a big thing. That's why a lot of his speeches, he like especially later on, he wasn't down close to people a lot. He was more up on balconies further away, giving these speeches where you could see him, you recognized him, but like you couldn't just see him because he was not a very appealing person, or
yeah,
so I'm told.
yeah. I don't know anything about how he was as a person. But I do know that with the people, like with one of the police departments. I'm trying to remember it, but I guess there was this police department. I don't know what part of Germany. And the police chief, the way he approached his deputies wasn't, hey, we're gonna go kill some fucking Jews. It was like, hey guys, listen, we got some really bad things coming down the pipe that we're gonna have to do. This isn't something I can ask any of you to do. Like this is horrible. What we're gonna have to do is horrible. So if you want, you can leave without any consequence right now. And that's fine. And then most of them, in a weird way, respectably didn't leave. Like I know it sounds weird that I said respectably, but it's kind of true because, like, if you think about it, they're well, now I'm in this hole and I got to get out of it.
They felt that there was dirty work that had to be done for their country. Is that
Yeah.
what you think? Okay.
Well, no, not that. Sorry,
No.
not that. No, what it was it was more like, well, I'm not going to leave and let my friend have to.
Okay, they're not going to leave it to other people. They're gonna,
yeah, it was kind of like camaraderie or something.
I think I can see that.
Yeah, and so apparently that's how they got a lot of these dudes to comply. It wasn't through force. It was through like, hey, you can, if you want, you can go, but we got some really bad shit we got to do, and I can't ask you to do it.
Well, they've also done it a million times and in different ways. They've done, what's it called? I've only usually ever see it as like the Nazi sociology experiment, I guess you'd call it, where people have a appeal to authority, where it's just, if it's somebody, people will do amazing things that they would not say that they would do. Like people will do really bad, they'll do terrible things, go further than what they think that they would do if it's somebody that they trust as an authority figure is telling them
Are
to do it.
you talking about that one experiment where they got like all the people and made some of them guards and then the others were the prisoners?
That was I'm not talking about that one. That was another interesting situation. No, this one was
kind of similar though, right?
Yeah, that one, that's actually very similar, because with that one it was people, and you've got a lot of they've obviously done tons of interviews and stuff afterwards about it, but there were some of the people, they said that they weren't being themselves. They were like playing it up. They were trying to be what they thought a security guard would be. It's like, and I think, it's been so long since I've read anything about that. I think they were encouraged. I could be wrong. They were encouraged to kind of be more brutal. I don't think they were. I don't remember, but they were.
I don't think they were either, but they were. If we're still talking about the prisoner, were we talking about the prisoner?
That one. Yeah, they were the one where some of the students were prisoners, some of them were prison guards. The prison guards, some of them interviewed afterwards of like, how did this get so messed up? How did this get so brutal? How, like, you guys were treating them so bad? You guys were friends. How does it come to this? And I remember one of the guys, he was kind of singled out of being like the most brutal to him.
Yeah.
And he was saying it was almost like he wasn't himself when he was doing that experiment. It was that he's playing it up. What's that? There's a name for this. It's something that you have to account for when you're doing studies with
a control.
What's it called? It's when you're testing something for something, people know that they're being tested, so they try to give the tester the response that they're looking
for. A blind study or something like that.
No.
Placebo effect.
Kind of. God, I wish I had a second computer I could look this up. No, it's a so like if you're trying to test for something, when people know that they're being tested, they try to give the outcome, they try to give the result that they think the person giving the test is looking for. Yeah, so if they're testing like if they're trying to do some kind of survey or test on people's morality of like, oh, how good of a person are you? Like, how far will the average person go to help somebody else? A lot of people, most people will do very little for others if they don't know them in any way. But if they're being tested, people will go further. It's like, oh, how good is the average person? How far are they willing to go for their fellow person? And they'll go further. They'll do more to try to
Oh, a
get the
social
result.
experiment.
Yeah, they do it with a lot of social experiments,
Yeah.
but it's in all kinds of tests that they do. They have to account for that. You have to create you have to how you structure the test, whatever you're looking for, whatever you're trying to figure out. You have to structure it in a way where you have to either cancel out that part or you have to try to account for that in the results of we got biased results. What is it? It's test um oh god, it's right on the tip of my tongue. It's something bias. I'm gonna as soon as we're done here, I'm gonna remember what it was. I'm gonna kick myself. But yeah, it's some kind of bias where you try to give the person being tested tries to give the result of what they think that they are supposed to give. So
Okay.
that played into the prisoner with the students, the prison experiment. They were acting it up. They were playing a character, and they took it way too far, but they were playing up a character of what they thought they were supposed to be.
Okay. All right. And this was in a movie?
No, this was real life.
Oh,
I can't remember
oh
where it
shit.
was, but this was yeah, no, this was real life. I'm pretty sure it
Okay.
was.
I'm getting that mixed up because they made a movie about the whole
Oh yeah,
security
it's been
guard and the
redone.
prisoner
Yeah,
films and
there was.
yeah.
I can't remember where it was, but there was another college shortly after did a similar thing, and it was completely reversed. Where the first time it was the guards were just brutal and just abusing them, physically, emotionally, all that stuff. And then the second time it was 180, where the prisoners were just tormenting the guards, making them hate doing their job.
Do you think that takes place with people in authority, like police officers, or I don't know, or actual prison guards?
Um, it definitely
It
can.
has to, right?
It has to on some level. It has to take part in it, but
Yeah.
I know for the most part, most jobs like that, it's just people doing a job. They're just doing a
Yeah.
job to make money. Um, police officer, they tend to be jobs like police officer. They tend to be more of somebody that's um, wants to do the right thing. Um, Obviously, not always, but for the most part, police are just average people that want to do more for their communities. But it's different. So the prisoner experiment, that's different than the one I was originally talking about. Was they've repeated this hundreds of times, if not thousands of times. The most common one that I have seen is they take a bunch of people in that are like they're willing to do part of this sociology experiment, and they have one guy that so they have random people, they come in and they meet a guy that he's in on it, he's a part of the study, and they tell the person that they are randomly deciding who's going to be the tester and who's going to be who's going to be asking the questions and who's going to be answering the questions. And the guy that they have working with them, part of the study, he is always he's always going to be the person answering the questions. But the other person, the random person, they don't know this. They think it's random, that they just got lucky and they're the ones asking the questions. So they take them into two separate rooms and they show the first person, the guy that's part of the study. He's like gets like strapped into a chair with like electrodes like put on his temple and on his arm, like all his body. So they kind of play it up. It's like, this is actually real. Like this is a whole thing. Like this person's actually hooked up to machines. And then they take the other person into another room and they've got this contraption ahead of them.
Oh,
And it's
I
got
know
all these
exactly what you're
different, yeah,
talking
you go.
about. Okay,
They've
yeah,
got
yeah.
all these different like buttons or levers in front of them. And nope, my dog's trying to go for my phone again. And so they have to answer, they have to ask a question. The real person, the real rando, has to ask questions to the fake rando, the guy that's in on it. And every single time he either takes too long to answer or he gets the question wrong, they get nope, nope. They push the button, pull the lever, whatever it is, and it administers rather a small electric shock. And each time they do it, they goes one up the scale until at the very end they're told, it even has a little skull and crossbones on it, they're told this is a lethal amount of electricity to run through a body, this will kill them. And they go, while they're doing this, they're asking the questions over a microphone. They've got just older guy in a lab coat. He's got a clipboard and he's like taking notes, look very professional. He looks like a doctor. And he's just constantly telling them to, this is for science. You got to keep on doing this. Oh, you're good to, he's fine. You're good to keep on going. Like, to encourage them to go. He's the person that people put their trust in, the authority figure that people trust. This is a doctor, this is a scientist. He's telling them to go, then they need to go. And it's a disturbingly large number of people that will go very, very far up until they will answer the question, or they'll ask the question rather, and then uh, the guy that's part of the study, he's not actually hooked up to anything. It's all just a recording being played back. And sometimes they switch it up. Sometimes they play, they'll play recordings of him where he just goes silent at one point. So it's assumed that he passed out. They'll do some where he's just struggling to answer the question, some where he's like screaming, like, no, let me go, let me out. I don't want to do this anymore. And every single time the person asking the questions will turn to the doctor and it's like, do we continue? I don't know what am I supposed to do? And the doctor just goes, yep, keep going. Yeah, this is everything's fine. This is for science, all that. And a disturbingly large number of people will keep on going all the way until they'll push the button that says this will kill somebody. They will push it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't, maybe it wasn't that one, but I had heard something about where they heard the screaming on the other side every time they push the button, and then people would actually start to just push the button more when they, or maybe it wasn't that, maybe it was the same study, maybe just a repeated or something, where they pushed the button and when they heard the screaming, it was something similar to like what you're saying, where there was an authority figure telling them that they needed to push the button. So this experiment isn't necessarily about the effects that having authority can have on you. It's the effects that people under that authority and how far they're willing to go for that authority, right?
Yeah, it was when they are, how far people will go in doing very bad things when they are being told to continue by somebody that they trust, an authority that they trust.
Yeah.
So in that situation, it was a scientist of some kind, a doctor of some kind, telling them to keep on going. In other situations, they've had it where it can be somebody from law enforcement, it can be somebody like a politician, it can be a boss of some kind, like keep going, otherwise you're going to be, well, not keep going or you're going to be fired, because that's a different because that makes it's me or them. That's a different situation, because a lot of people will choose themselves over somebody else, that's normal. Most animals will choose their life over somebody else's, but they'll do it where there's no risk to them. It's like they're just being told by whatever authority figure to keep going, and a lot of people will keep on going. And it gets very, very stressful. I've seen videos. There are a lot of people, they break down. There was one guy. He was like, he nearly attacked the scientist guy. He nearly attacked him. He was like telling him like, because he was saying, once the guy for his recording, the guy that was in on it, the guy being asked questions, he stopped answering. And so the guy asking the questions assumed that he had passed out or something, and he refused to keep going on until he knew that he was safe. And it got to, and like he was like, no, I'm done. I need to go in there. I need to make sure he's okay, or call an ambulance, do something, like help him. And the doctor guy, the scientist guy, he just was saying, no, we need to continue. And he got to the point where he was like about to lay hands on him and like threatening him, like, no, you need to go help this guy. That was very rare though.
Yeah, I doubt that was the normal person.
There was also a disturbingly, it was very hard to watch sometimes. There was a large number of people that they would not laugh like maniacally, like they'd push the button to do whatever 100 volts. I want to say 450. Well, however many volts, it's like this will kill somebody, and they push it, and it's like ha ha ha, I just killed this person. No, it's more of like they got it wrong. Okay, I have to push it. They push it, and it's like, um, so what now? And like they just kind of a nervous laugh. But there was one lady where she would push it and she would kind of hold it down for like a half second longer than you should, and she kind of giggled every single time. It was probably an uncomfortable. She was probably just nervous, but it did not come off very well.
That's funny. Um, yeah, fucking psychopaths. When they did another study where, and this, I'm gonna butcher the shit out of this one too, but basically, the concept will still hold true. Psychopaths, people that were diagnosed, with psychopathy, had to sit down and they were shown a bunch of images, a bunch of images being normal images of like a dog or like a flag or a couch,
Things
or
that would like
headphones,
emotional
just
experience
normal
or
shit,
emotional reaction, like just
normal
yeah.
shit. Yeah. And then they just flash, I don't know, a video clip of someone getting their hand smashed in the car door, stuff like that. And they would actually see the I think it was the dopamine. Maybe it wasn't the dopamine, but it was some chemicals in their fucking head that would,
Parts of it, like
go
it
crazy.
was parts of their brains that would light up that were,
Yeah, they'd be
if you
very happy
normally
to see
see
it.
like a cute dog, or you see like a happy family, or what a sunset, you see something that like normally is a positive thing that people like, but then you see a picture or a video of something that people normally don't like, and then but they'd have a positive response to it.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas
Mhm.
normal people would kind of like, kind of cringe a little bit,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't have that same response in
Mhm.
their brain. So there's some people that are actually wired in a way. Like
Mhm.
imagine right now, like if you were walking down the street and you wanted to whack someone in the head with a piece of rebar that you had. I don't know. Normal
Okay.
people, that would kind of fuck with them if they saw it.
It's yeah.
Psychopath looks at that and he's like, well, hell yeah, dude. Fuck yeah, man. Can you imagine that though? That there's people wired that way? That like,
There's people, they're just, their brains are just not wired right.
yeah.
Um, I wonder what's the technical difference, because which one's a psychopath, or if they're both a psychopath, because there's some people where their brains are just wired wrong, where they see something generally considered negative, they have a positive reaction, and they have a negative reaction to something generally considered positive. But then there are other people, where they are all normal. They're normal in the head. Everything works except for they don't feel any empathy.
Yeah, yeah.
And um, so
That's a
they're
sociopath.
always, is that a, so is it
Yeah.
psychopath and sociopath? Okay, those are close. I couldn't remember which
Sociopath
one.
is the lack of empathy,
Okay,
whereas psychopath, I think they also lack empathy, but they get really excited when they see people get hurt.
I could see lack of
It's
empathy. It's
probably like
probably,
oversimplifying it, but
I mean, I would imagine that it'd be hard to have empathy when you are hurting somebody to feel good.
that
I
would
feel
be
like
like the
those things
ultimate.
don't go together. But one interesting thing that they found about sociopath, whichever one is the lack of empathy one, I think sociopaths. Um, so I don't think it's a rule. I think it's a tendency. Could be wrong. Um, when you see somebody else yawn, you have, because we're sociological creatures, you have an urge to yawn as well. And but sociopaths, when they see somebody yawn, they almost never have the urge to yawn as well, because they don't. It's part of empathy. It's part of us being very social creatures. that we will mirror ourselves off of others, but they don't have that. So they almost never have any urge to yawn.
If I recall correctly, this is actually what one of the biggest differences between us and animals. Now I'm probably going to fuck this up, but it was something along the lines that an animal. Okay, so if we see people, everyone's staring at something on a mountain, you're going to look up at the mountain, be like, what the hell is that? Or what's going on over there? And I think it said animals will do that when there is some kind of threat of danger, but humans will do it because we assume that you know something we don't, and we want to see what you know that we don't. And that's very different from like what a pack animal would do. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I can see that. There's a lot of, like, if you take deers for example, well, we also have a lot more language, and there's a lot more. We just have a higher level of consciousness, so there's a lot more to our social interactions. But
Well, I was thinking like with technology, right? Technology is pretty mindless. You know, that's what it's weird to us. Like if you were to interact with a robot that could do everything that I can do, like it can, you know, do all the same exact facial expressions. It grew hair, it had weird quirks, you know, whatever, but it just happened to be a robot and you knew it was a robot. There's a good chance that thing would creep you out. And the reason why is because it's mindless. Like we don't, you know, you're like, if someone gets shot in the head while they're driving a car, the car is going to keep going if their foot's on the pedal. It doesn't think, it doesn't know that there's someone in
it's
the car.
just doing what it's programmed to do. So I guess that would get kind of into AI, because that's part of the uncanny valley. Is the more realistic something gets, the more it creeps out until you get to an actual human. Then it goes back. It's more realistic looks. We have better. Like you got way down here, it's like really creepy things like the animatronics at Chuck E. Cheese's. And then you get up, you've got the animatronics at Chuck E. Cheese's.
Animatronics?
Yeah.
What's that?
You know, Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
That I'm not going to say that that's based off of Chuck E. Cheese's, but basically that is Chuck E. Cheese's minus the murdering. They don't walk around, but they've got these very creepy, it's like old fashioned where they're just, for whatever reason, they thought kids would love this, but it is nightmare. They just nightmare fuel.
Oh yeah,
and there's
where
these
it's like
super basic. They
like
go,
yeah,
and they're like,
yeah,
they go like that, and then like as they're turning, their eyes, like their eyelids, like kind of like bounce almost. It's really weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, as it goes up, they get more realistic. You have better experience until it gets too realistic. Then it drops down. People are very uncomfortable with them, and then it goes back up when you get to a real person, obviously. But you can tell, like, it looks more realistic. It looks like more like a person, but you can tell something's off. It's not moving quite right, or whatever it is. You can tell that it's empty. It's not what it's supposed to be. And I think, I mean, you could get more scientific approach and say that you need some level of like consciousness, some level of like AI intelligence to make it move and behave correctly. Or you could get on a more philosophical level and say that it's missing whatever that object is, it's missing something like a soul.
I think part of
can
it though,
see that it's like that it doesn't have it.
Yeah. I think part of it is that when we see that, like, okay, if you're looking at some dude that he was just attacked by a bear and like his whole face is all fucked up, half his ears hanging off, and I don't know, like his jaw's dislocated. And
he's been mauled by a bear. Yeah, he's messed up.
I just saw a video of a guy that got mauled by a bear, actually. That's why.
Did you see the one where the he's like rock climbing and bear just comes charging out of nowhere and he flips it over his head?
No,
and it falls down the cliff and it tries climbing up and he just keeps on and he just kicks it in the face.
I saw the one where this beast of a man walked out of the woods and did a Facebook Live right after he had been attacked by a bear and told everyone to stay safe. He needs to get, he's like, I gotta go. I gotta get to the hospital.
And he's super, I gotta go.
Yeah.
I think I've seen that one.
Badass. Yeah,
I think I've seen that one. Yeah.
Years ago, I think.
Okay.
but I
Years.
just
Oh,
saw
I
it.
probably didn't see it.
No. Where you weren't looking at bear attacks years ago?
No, I don't. I don't really.
No.
If I did, it was just like scrolling through the internet, just a random one that
You
came
got
up.
into it in 2021?
I don't know, maybe.
No. Anyways, yeah. So when we look at someone that's really fucked up, we
Mhm.
think like it. I don't know. There's like this weird, awkward tension when they're around, and I'm not saying that's good or that it's actually awkward, but it's some kind of weird tension. Like you're trying not to,
Yeah.
address it. You're just trying to treat them like a normal person,
Yeah.
things like that. Maybe that's where that comes from. And it's not that he's actually fucked up, but maybe because you're trying not to address it. I don't know. But maybe it's also like that with robots, where robots, they don't exactly look how they're supposed to look. And so in our minds, it's just like when things don't look how they're supposed to look, it kind of sets that weird feeling where one might be awkward tension, the other one's fear. It's because it's not looking the way it's supposed to look. But what if it did? What if it looked exactly how it was supposed to look?
What
And
if it was Ex Machina?
yeah,
Then if it looks, moves everything perfectly like a human, then it all comes down to, I think, the AI. Because
yeah.
you can only program it if it's not like real artificial intelligence. Just having a conversation, you're gonna you're either gonna know something's off and it's not a real human by it's just having, like, you're talking to it about how the weather is, and then, oh, did you see that sports ball game, and yada yada, and then it just goes at a comes out of left field with like something not really related. um or if it's just, I kind of lost my train of thought. If it either is only so programmed enough to give a specific answer to certain questions or kind of guess, or if it's not good enough at reading social cues and how conversations work, basically how smart the AI is.
Well, that's really the ultimate step is when it gets
Mhm.
to the point where it's not just following its programming, but reprogramming itself as it needs to for the given
Mhm.
situation.
Mhm.
But in a way, that's still just as fake, isn't it? Because, like, yeah, sure, if you program them for every single situation, what decision to make in that specific situation, that's bad. But how's that any different? Or not bad, but that's not like real AI. But how's that any less real than them making an algorithm that it can use to reprogram itself given whatever situation it might be in? They're both still shit that we made. And so they're
Right.
always going to be
Well,
fake.
you're still shit that your parents made. So it kind of depends on how complex it is. So the difference, I would say there's a pretty big difference between I somehow um, I programmed in all of the questions that you could possibly ask, and then I gave an appropriate answer for every single question, for every single situation. That's impossible because it would take forever, and there's not enough memory. There's not enough storage for that because it's
Infinite.
potentially
Yeah.
infinite number of questions. Um, a lot of them would be very similar or the same question, but potentially infinite number of questions there's and a potentially infinite number of answers. So there's a difference between that programming, if this then this, as opposed to a program that would be able to learn. So it's like it asks, it knows you met somebody, you say hello, what is your name, and it knows that. And then it learns from their social interaction. Okay, hi, my name is Ian. And then it's like, okay, this person's Ian. Hi, and I'm Jeremiah 2.0. Hi, Jeremiah 2.0. You're way better than that last guy. If it can learn, then it's constantly improving. Just it's building upon itself on how learning information, how it processes, how it interacts with things. That is a lot closer to how humans develop, because babies, they don't know anything. They're um, for few years after for such a long time after they're born, um, so much of what they learn is by mirroring what they see, what they hear, what they touch, they copy what their parents do, what their family does, what their people they're around, they copy them. And that's similar to how like a real AI would learn. It's observing its interactions, it's learning from when it talks to people, when it watches them and do whatever. um, it's able to learn from that, and it kind of changes its code the way
Yeah.
humans would change their neural pathways when they learn something.
Well, if you think about it, as complex as we are, as intelligent as we are in,
Mhm.
being able to learn the way that we can, we still take 18 years to fully develop. What about
Yeah, well,
something
that's
that's not
your.
quite as advanced? You know, what if it has to
Well, I
sit around
guess it
for 100
depends.
years before it figures things out? And then once it gets to that point, it's exponential, and it just starts
Yeah.
rapidly
Well, that's
growing.
also, is it just one program that's evolving like that, it's improving itself, or um there was another idea of eventually you can make a machine, or you can make a program that will make another machine. It can, if a and this is usually with AI, because we're trying to make an AI that is, right now we're trying to make one that is as smart as a human. And what does that mean? So you can easily make a robot. There's a lot of AI right now that they can. There's that one. I forget what it's called. There's the one that's supposed to be impossible to beat in chess. It was beaten, but it can beat almost anybody in chess. Well, that's just one skill. Um, that's
Yeah.
actually really easy. You just program all of the moves, and then it can calculate. It's very easy numbers game at that point. And then there's AI where it just has to memorize facts. Like there was the one that went on Jeopardy, and it was winning tons of money because if it's just memory recall, if it's just facts, then a computer's way better at that than we are. But if it's problem solving or any kind of, depending on how you're trying to test its intelligence, we've got made nothing that comes close to humans. So once we do that, we're going to try to make something that is better than humans. And then that is going to try to make something that's better than itself. And that's going to make something that's better than itself. And it's just going to keep on escalating until it's program after program making something even better than itself. And eventually you get to, I think they call it the singularity. I've heard of a lot of things being called AI singularity though. So, but it just keeps on going until it can't make something that's better than itself. But what does that turn into?
God.
Could be.
Had to be, right? Like, I mean, if it isn't that the path that God would, or if an entity wanted to become a god, isn't that the path it would need to go through?
Well, I guess that depends on what godhood means. Is it just
That's true.
being
Godhood. I like that term.
godhood? I mean, that's,
Yeah.
yeah, godhood is goddom,
Yeah. Well, you fucking
gundam.
sexist piece of shit. I'll have you know that there's more, it's not just men who can become God. It could be women too. It could be
How
goddesses hood.
that says
Oh,
more
oh,
about
oh shit.
that
I fucked
says more
myself
about
up.
you.
Or
Exactly. That says more
yeah.
about you because I said godhood. There's manhood and womanhood. The hood is
Oh,
just,
oh,
yeah,
see, I thought
no.
you were about to hit me with the fact that it's gender neutral. Like they could be fluid, they could be neutral, they could be a 30% man, 20% duck, and
Well,
50% woman. I don't.
would God have a gender? Because you could argue, one could argue, I would argue, as somebody might say, um, if would it not be better for an entity? Would an entity not be better if it can replicate itself by itself? Whereas humans, we need, for the most part, science. There's science, but for the most part, we need a man and a woman in order to replicate ourselves. If there was something that could replicate itself without needing another entity, would that not be better?
um it wouldn't be better. If there was a God, I feel like it would have to be both. Because in the
Yeah, that's what
universe,
I'm
what we
saying.
see is there is it?
That's what I'm
I
asking.
thought you were
Yeah.
saying it had to be neither.
Neither, both. What's the difference?
Well, both means that you are those two things, and then neither would be that you're not either of them.
But what would that look like if there's, so I
You
mean
actually you would
that would be
have
the
to,
same thing.
if you think
That would,
if you think about it, you would have to be both. You would have to be male and female, but you'd also have to be both of those and neither of those, because the universe is all about duality, right?
so
So
you're saying I'm wrong because I'm right?
no, this isn't about you being wrong, Ian.
Okay.
Feels weird
Okay.
to call you that.
Jeremiah. It does.
But no, I'm saying, like, if there's hot, then there's cold. If there's soft, then there's hard. If there's wet, then there's dry. If there's I don't know.
Well, some of those, that's not
Everything
just
is
duality.
always,
Some of those is the absence of another thing. Like just because one thing's wet doesn't mean another thing is dry. It's possible for the entire universe to be dry
but
because a liquid doesn't have to exist.
that's still two though, right? Like you're either
Okay,
this
yeah,
thing or there's none of that thing. That's still
I
two.
mean, that's kind of simplistic, but yeah, you can break everything into the world.
Ones and zeros.
This is either a duck or it's not a duck.
That's what I'm saying. I actually think that duality, I don't know what it is about duality, but I think that it's a thing inside the universe.
So you're not. It's a valid way of looking at it, but it's just like, yeah, you can say that anything is like, is this a Rubik's cube or is this not a Rubik's cube? Is this a Super Bowl championship ring or is this not a Super Bowl championship ring? You can do that with anything.
Yeah.
So it's a way of categorizing things.
And I mean, it brings
Anyway,
me
back to
back to
God.
ones and zeros. Like
There you
machine
go.
code.
AI, 1 and 0.
Yeah,
Man and
and that's our
female.
segue
There
back
you
into
go.
back onto the path. Yeah.
Nailed it.
It's like that car that's like fucking doing this shit in the air, and everyone's wondering what's gonna happen when it lands, but boom, it lands perfect and just keeps driving.
Yep.
This only happens in video games and movies, but
Exact. Or Fast and for movies as well. Yeah, Fast and
yeah.
Furious. Totally.
What the hell were we talking about,
We
man?
were talking. So I said, you brought up, well, we were talking about if God was a man or a woman, or if it was both, or if it was neither. And I said, well, it would be neither. It's neither a man or it's neither male or female. And then what's the difference between not being one of those or being both of those? Because being both of those also means that you are not one of them. So if I am, it's like if you were to divide everybody in the world into one group that is they only have a right hand and the other group is they only have a left hand. Well, I'm not a person with only a right hand. I'm not a person with only a left hand. I have both. So I am a person with a right hand and a person with a left hand, but I'm not just one of those things. I am both. So I'm neither and both.
And that is duality.
Yes.
Because you're neither and both.
That's how duality works.
Don't mock me. I can't breathe. Don't mock a dying man, all right? It's fucked up.
So anyway, what were we talking about?
We were talking about God.
Talking about God. All right. What about
I was
God? Okay, so talking about
I was
AI.
wanting to see if you wanted to go to my church this Sunday, actually.
I think I'm good.
What?
Not a religious person. I can go to support you. I've done that a lot.
I interrupted you with rudeness.
How dare you?
You please continue with what you were about to say.
We were talking about if you were to just something was to continuously make a better version of itself, what does that become?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Is it one supreme being that is just the entire universe is one being, all the atoms in the universe are one perfect object, one perfect entity, whatever that looks like? Or would it be something that doesn't even need a physical form if it's just pure energy? what is, if you keep on if it keeps on making itself smarter, faster, stronger, um like what does that eventually turn into? And you said God, and I said, well, I guess it depends on what godhood means. um if it's just something that has a higher level entity, just something with more power, uh then yes. If it's something that is omniscient, omnipresent, then potentially it could be. I don't know.
Have you ever seen Stargate?
I have not.
Well, in that one, their version of that, because they actually had so with them, there are aliens, but they're not as um well, they are kind of crazy, but there's a lot of humans that went to other planets and colonized those planets, and then they fell under the rule of these oppressive aliens. And not all of them, some of them didn't. And some of those that didn't, form their own little community separate from Earth,
Mhm.
because Earth was also under the oppressive rule of these aliens. And they evolved over time. I don't know how long in the story, but they evolved over time to the point where they simply exist on a different plane of existence.
Mhm.
They can still interfere with godlike power in this plane of existence, but their primary life is over on a completely different, not even a different universe, not a different galaxy.
Different
Um,
reality.
yeah, completely different
Yeah,
thing
I could.
altogether.
Yeah, that kind of gets back to, if it just becomes like something of pure energy, if it where it doesn't, it can exist in ways that we don't even understand, we can't even comprehend.
Yeah. And I think that becomes pretty apparent with mushrooms whenever you decide to eat those. Because, I'm don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that that's the plane of existence we go to. I'm not saying that's
Mushroom
not,
land.
yeah, I'm not saying that we don't go to the mushroom land, but um that could just be a different thing altogether, and we experience it, and then when we die we go to a completely different thing besides mushroom land, but it's also completely different from this thing that we're in right now,
Yeah.
equally as valid as mushroom land and equally as valid as this thing,
This
but
is
completely
asparagus
different.
land.
And that's another thing
So
I was talking about with Ephraim was perspective. Like how the
okay.
I don't know. To me, it's crazy, right? That
Hmm.
one guy can have just gotten $1 million from a business he's been grinding on, his whole life. Um,
Hmm.
and he's finally hit that 1 million mark for sales that year, and he's ecstatic and everything. Meanwhile, another guy just had to go bankrupt, and he's having the worst time of his life right now. His wife just left him, took the kids. He has child support, you know, uh, all that shit.
Behind on
But it,
bills, cars
yeah,
breaking down, all that stuff. Yeah.
but then also how, in the grand scheme of things, from the perspective of like the universe, if you will, none of that shit, Matt. No, the universe doesn't give a fuck that
Yeah.
that guy just got $1 million, and the
Yeah.
universe doesn't give a fuck about all that shit that just happened to the other dude. You
So
know,
that actually, yeah, no, that gets into that's a whole can of worms of philosophy of everything. Everything matters. Everything matters, but at the same time, depending on what scale you're judging it, nothing matters. Like you can break it down to the smallest thing of, um, this person has a crush on this person. This person doesn't feel the same way. First person is can just completely distraught. But that doesn't. That's just that one person is upset. Doesn't affect that. Not necessarily doesn't affect anybody else. But then you've got, then you can scale it up. It's sports ball team one and sports ball team two. They play a game and sports ball team one wins. All these people are happy. All these people are sad. That's bigger. But then you scale that up even further. there's this country doesn't really like that this country is meddling in their affairs, so they go and invade another country called Ukraine, and that's obviously more important than a sports ball game. The sports ball game is more important than
Is
little
it though?
Johnny having a crush on Susie. I mean, it affects more people, and it has more serious ramifications uh, than the other ones do. But you could also say that's actually a good point. It's like war in Ukraine is more disastrous results and affects more people than Johnny having a crush on Susie and getting
But
shot
only to
down,
us.
but only to everybody else. Little Johnny might not necessarily ever be affected by the war in Ukraine. He could care less. If he's halfway across the world, it doesn't affect him very much. Then to him, the girl he likes rejecting him is more important. So
Yeah.
that matters more to him.
Well, and Czech always quotes that one. It may have been Mussolini. I don't know, where he says that, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's something along the lines that, 1,000 dead is a tragic, or no, 1,000 dead is, um, yeah, 1,000 dead is a sad story for a day, but then the death of one man is a tragedy for a lifetime, or something like that. I don't know. But he was talking about how, if one guy gets assassinated, that's a big deal because, his face is all over the news. That's what everyone
Yeah.
sees and everything. And whereas like 1,000 people, that's really hard for us to wrap our minds around. Like, we understand conceptually that that's a worse thing, like that's
Yeah.
horrible, but like it's easier for us to relate to the one person that
The one
passed.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me of The Dark Knight with the Joker when he's talking to Harvey in the hospital and he's saying like, well, he can do one thing, nobody cares, and then he says a truck full of soldiers gets blown up, nobody cares, but nobody panics. But then he kills one little old mayor and everybody loses their minds.
Yeah.
Um, it's all about kind of, I mean, you can look at that in all kinds of different ways. Of some are their people, they're dying far away, people you didn't know, versus this is at least a person I know their name, like they're an important person. This is the mayor. If they die, then what does that mean? Or I mean, you can look at that all different kinds of ways.
Yeah. And of course, the war in Ukraine only matters to us as humans. It doesn't matter at all to the trees. Like, they don't give a fuck what happens. You know what I mean?
Unless the war destroys the trees, or like if
Well,
we
that's only
yeah.
from our perspective that the trees would care. We don't know. We haven't talked to the community of trees and figured out how much they actually care. If and what we're worried for the
You
trees
haven't
whenever
gotten
we
on
use it
Facebook.
for
You haven't gotten
everything.
on Facebook. You haven't created an account on Facebook and see
Yeah.
what the trees are
No.
thinking.
Facebook.
Facebook, yeah.
I like it. Yeah, so we're and humans, we're such a small part of the whole fucking equation. Like, not just Earth, but the whole universe and shit.
Well, yeah, we're very very small, but we can have very large results. Like we can, my dog's climbing on objects. We are very small and relatively very weak, but we can have a very, over time and with enough people, you can have a very large reaction to something. But even then, for the most part, at least for a long time, we're going to be, anything we do is going to be limited to planet Earth,
Yeah.
and nothing, almost nothing we can do is going to last forever. Like no matter how strong of a building or whatever a structure, no matter how strong or high or well you build something, eventually it's going to get either knocked down over time, worn down, or nature's just going to grow over it and it's going to not exist.
Yeah. Because we manipulate nature to do what we want it to do. I know I sound really hippie saying that, but I mean, that is reality, right? Like everything is nature, even like this plastic bottle of gummies.
It's just, I
That's all
mean,
nature
those,
just mixed together and manipulated in a way that
it's, yeah,
makes
it's
it that.
synthetically, it's synthetic in so far as that it does not exist in nature in that form, but
Yeah, yeah,
everything is natural if you look at it from the point of view of you just took objects from the earth and then messed with them, heat them up, cooled them down, chop them up, whatever, and put it in a different arrangement. Those
yeah,
molecules that make up that bottle still existed when the dinosaurs were alive. It just
yeah,
didn't look like that
yeah. And then it's gonna look like that whenever the
for
dinosaurs come
thousands of
back.
years because it takes forever to break
No,
down
no, until the dinosaurs come back. They're actually coming
until the
back right
dinosaurs
now.
come back.
I don't
Obviously,
know if you knew.
the laser raptors when they their peace treaty finally breaks down and they this whole the human era is allowed for interdimensional space travel and
No,
quantum
man, you didn't
travel.
hear that. No, the dinosaurs came back, and apparently they left Earth a while ago once their technology became synonymous with, or sorry, harmonious with Earth's um, nature, right? Once their
I think I saw
technology
this
was
Doctor Who
conducive.
episode.
No, it's not a Doctor Who episode. It's the new Rick and Morty episode, season 6, episode
Season 6.
6.
Oh, I haven't seen
Yeah,
that yet.
yeah.
Did it come out?
Spoiler
Is it, what
alert.
did it come out on? Does it what is that? Hulu? What is Rick and Morty? I saw it's
I
on Hulu.
I'm not sure if it is. It may be.
Pretty sure I watched it on Hulu.
I watched it on Google TV. I just buy it every time it comes out. I'm pissed right now because they're making us wait until November 20th for the next fucking episode because they're taking a mid-season break. It's like, well, what about the
Mid-season.
before season
How
break?
many episodes have come out?
I think 5 or 6.
It's probably not on because you don't have to pay up for it each individual episode on Hulu. You just pay for the subscription service. If I'm right, and it's Hulu, which I'm pretty sure it is. Um, you just
No, no,
you just
I don't think it is. I
I
could
don't
be
think
wrong.
no, I'm pretty sure. I
I
mean, my
think the
headset
producers are like
is
holding it hostage and only putting it on like select
maybe the
platforms
newest
or something.
season. If you want
That's
to
what I'm
pay for it
saying.
on
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Google. Oh, okay. That's what I
Season
was saying. Is
6.
I
Yeah,
didn't get
yeah,
that
yeah.
far yet. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you can watch as long as you have Hulu, you can watch it on Hulu, but you just can't watch the most current season. I've seen up through
Yeah.
season 5. The last one was uh like like it was like Samurai Rick or something. It's like Rick and
Oh
Two
yeah.
Crows.
I didn't like that. I mean, it
I
was
didn't like
cool,
it either.
but
That was not a
it
I
wasn't
mean,
good
it's
old fashioned
interesting.
Rick and Morty for me.
No, like I think it's interesting. It's definitely an interesting episode, but I think it'd be better for the middle to end of a Rick and Morty season. It's definitely not like season
Yeah.
4 ending. Um,
Well, not
I
to
don't think it's a
spoil
very
it,
good
but they
season ending.
don't end it that way. I won't say how
It's
they
what
end it,
season?
but
What season 5 or season what?
season 5, yeah. If I remember right, I think the last episode is a normal Rick and Morty episode, and they kind of wrap it up on the episode before.
I thought no. I thought I can't. I'm gonna have to rewatch it. I was pretty sure that season 5 was it. The entire arc was it's following the Rick and Two Crows. At the very end, it's just like Rick is a rebound for the Crows, and I thought it kind of
Yeah, and
went
then that's
back
when
to
they
normal
end up
life from
getting
there.
back together. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's the end of the episode, isn't it?
yeah, but I thought there was an episode after that where it was a normal.
I could have swore that was episode 8, and that was the
Uh,
whatever the last one was.
yeah, maybe I'm wrong. I don't
Are you thinking of the evil Morty
know.
episode? Because I'm pretty sure that's the
No,
ending of
that one
episode
was pretty
4.
dope though. Not gonna
That
lie.
one was pretty cool. They brought
Yeah.
that song back. The President Morty, the song. Oh god, I can't think of how it goes, but when they're on the Citadel.
When they're on the Citadel. Oh yeah.
Yep, that's how it goes.
Yeah, I've seen all the episodes like a dozen times, man. I'm obsessed with that show. Rick and Morty's the shit, man.
It's a
I've
high
always loved
IQ
it.
show.
It really is because there's so much going on and everything's a bit.
Oh
It's
yeah.
hilarious, man. I can't say that I sit there and like die laughing or maybe even laugh out loud, but I'm very stimulated while I'm
Yeah.
watching it. It's making me
Oh yeah, it
think.
definitely
Yeah,
it has your attention. It make you think about stuff. I mean, you
yeah.
can
And
so
it
many
is
of them. It's
funny. It's
actually
just
kind of
not rolling the floor funny.
right. Well, there are
Yeah.
some times where it's just you'll get an actual like an out loud, a laugh out loud, or you'll
Yeah.
get a belly laugh. But most of the time it is entertaining. It'll keep your attention. And it's there's a lot of stuff where you can just, oh, that's a funny bit. If you don't look too into it, it's like, oh, that's a funny joke, or this is happening. Okay, now that's happening. Oh, that's funny. And then some of them, not all of them, because they do go back and forth between um episodic episodes and episodic plots and serialized plots, where some of them are just, this is an episode of a show that exists, not really
Yeah.
in any point in the timeline. And there's some of serialized where this happens, and then later on it's like they'll do a callback, go like, hey, remember when this happened?
Yeah.
um, and there are some things where it's just, oh, that's just a funny joke, but then you could also go into more depth with them as well.
Yeah.
Happens a lot with Rick when it comes like when we start learning more about his past or his relationship to Morty, things like that.
Yeah. It's funny too in the show when they start making references to how it's a TV show as a joke.
Yeah,
Like on the most recent episode. I don't want to
don't
spoil
spoil
it,
it for me.
but well, okay, it won't spoil it. But basically, I already told you about the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs come back and they do something to mess with Rick. And Rick's like, what the fuck, man? Like, I could have used that for a 3 episode arc at least. And it's
Oh
like,
yeah, they kind of break the fourth wall. They know that they're in a,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And it's always funny when they do that,
yeah.
Um,
That is such an easy thing to do wrong, to do poorly, and it just not work. But
they're very
uh,
talented, whoever the writers are.
they are. I can't remember their
Yeah.
names. I think there's two main guys, but yeah, they've got a whole team of writers. Um,
I wonder how they get
yeah,
it
they're very
so
good.
good, man. Because like, with stand-up comedy, for example, you try or you write your material out, you go and you try to
There's a
open
lot
mic
of
nights.
rehearsal. There's a lot of
Yeah.
rehearsal. It's very hard to just go up and be funny.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a lot of crash and burns.
But
You
what
have
I'm
to
saying
work
is
through
you get
that.
feedback instantly. You try your material out and you know that either because of the material or your delivery, that it either did really good or it did not do really good. And it did really good in these spots specifically, and it didn't do good in
Hmm.
these spots specifically.
Hmm.
And it's like that because you're doing it in front of a live audience. But with an episode, that's got to be hard because you're not just pushing this episode out in front of 15-year-old kids, or you're not just pushing it out in front of old people. You're going to have all it, like, if you want them to come watch the episode so that you can get feedback, that already kind of changes things because most people are going to
Hmm.
casually be watching it on their phone throughout their day anyways.
Yeah,
And you're bringing these people in to sit down, like they're going to give you false feedback. So like I wonder how they are able to find like the
that is
juiciness in it.
that. Yeah, they've got the team of writers where they'll come up with something. They'll kind of play ideas off of each other usually. No, no, you don't do that. Um, and so they can get kind of a better idea of like what's going on. Um, but so that's actually kind of touched on two different things. One was with the way media is being consumed, it's changing. It used to be you had to buy the film, or you had to buy the DVD or whatever it was. Hey, you stop that. You stop that. Um, and then it became, now it's cable. It's played over cable, and you can watch it, but you don't get the results until so long later, or you don't know that everybody's watching. You have to have, what are those called? They had it was something family. You would be the Nelson family. You'd have a black box, and if you would it would record what you not record, but um, it would relay what channels you were watching and at what times, and that's how they based viewership back in the cable days. And then now that everything's becoming online, streaming service was a step because they can directly they can see exactly how many people have watched movie or TV show, whatever it is, whatever video, um, how many times they've watched it, how far did they watch? Did they only watch it halfway through? Did they watch the entire thing? And then there's internet videos where you've got like YouTube and all those different things where sites where you can instantly get all of that information, not just that, but also who is it? Is it an adult? Is it a child? Is it a man? Is it a woman? All of that stuff, and then you can also get their reaction to it with things like comments, with things like upvotes and downvotes, thumbs up and thumbs down. You can get even more of, and you can break it down even further of like when in the video did they thumbs up? Was it the very beginning because it just immediately they liked it, or is it because they know that creator and they know that they're going to like it, or they're just supporting them, or was it partway through when they told a certain joke, or was it at the very end where I had a good experience, they say I like that. um, all of that changes how they kind of record, how they tell like how well a video is doing, a joke or a movie, a TV show, all that stuff.
Yeah. Uh, I think one thing they did with that data that they collected, I don't know how they figured this out. I haven't read anything. I haven't even Googled it before. But someone really smart must have, you know, been talking to the decision makers and shit, because like to it's really clever to be able to figure out that if you put soundtracks of people laughing at the punchlines
Mm-hmm.
of the jokes on your movie or TV show, that's going to make it funnier than it would be normally. Um,
That Yeah, that kind of
that's really
cues
smart.
people when they're supposed
Yeah,
to have their reactions. That
yeah.
can go really poorly as well, though, because I mean, there's everybody loves to hate on Big Bang Theory. I actually like Big Bang Theory, unironically, but I mean, if you don't like it, then that's fine.
I
You don't
never
have to
really
like the thing
watched
that I
it.
like. That's fine. I like it. Um, well, maybe you're just not smart enough for it, Jeremiah.
I've never seen it,
No,
or I may have seen
no,
it
it's
as a
just a
kid.
lot
I
of
don't know.
nerd jokes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the show. It's a sitcom about just basically a bunch of nerds, a bunch of geeks, um, and some people find it funny, some people don't. But the internet loves to hate on it because they'll just make like so many of the jokes. They'll simplify it. They'll kind of break it down, but you can do this with all kinds of stuff. But they'll like person walks into room, other person says socially awkward thing, and then there's silence, and they play a laugh track. And you can do this with all kinds of shows that have laugh tracks and um, clap tracks and whatever. They're all of those audio recordings. If you take them out, because all of those shows they will pause. No, you cannot play in the blankets. Um, I'm using them as a phone stand. Um, if any show that has those recordings, they pause once they tell a joke. They'll pause. The actors stand still and pause and look at each other while the laugh track is playing. No, again, no. There you go. Am I just gonna have to hold you this entire time? Alrighty, there we go. So it when you remove the whatever the laugh track, whatever the audio sound, the audience sound is, it's gonna make the video seem weird. People just love to hate on the Big Bang Theory one because it's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know much about the Big Bang Theory. Um, I think the oldest show that I was really into as a kid was Alf. I don't know if you ever seen Alf.
I've not seen. I know what it is, but I've not seen it. I know
Yeah.
it's weird looking, but
Yeah, it's like this alien that this family
yeah,
kind of takes
you got like
in.
the long nose thing, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's like all furry.
I used to love that TV show. Plus, I've always liked the science fiction TV
Yep.
shows like Short Circuit. I don't know if you ever seen that movie.
I've not seen that. I have seen a video of Adam Savage from MythBusters. He's got his own um, like YouTube channel and other stuff where he's got a series where he sees a bunch of either he'll see like a bunch of old like classic movie props, or um he'll kind of learn about how they did certain things. Like I know there was one of the most recent ones, it was some kind of glaive, which is, it's like a, I think you can have different blades, numbers of blades on it, but it's like a metal piece. Well, they'd have like the handle piece in the middle, and then they'd have a bunch of blades that would they'd spin out from them, and it was like a throwing. It was like if you crossed like a throwing star with a switchblade, and it's just all of the blades are these little like they flip out, and you can just throw it at somebody, or you could probably just stab them. I guess I don't know. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that they were throwing weapons, but it was really old, ornate and old gold, and he had to have this like white glove to even handle it. He's got a lot of videos like that, and one of them was the robot from that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that guy's
Yeah.
big. I don't know what I was expecting, but that thing is a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be.
The premise is kind of dumb of Short Circuit, but it's still a really good movie. It has
What's
to
the premise?
do,
I haven't seen it.
yeah, it's basically where the military signed a contract for these robots that are going to go activate, basically as like infantry soldiers and, fight
Hmm.
bad guys and shit. And then one of them gets struck by lightning
Okay.
and
Yep. Classic
becomes
movie poster.
artificially intelligent. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. And
Or
short
Iron Man
circuits
back in the
and
day,
becomes.
not the new one, the old one, like the cartoon movie. And it wasn't about
Okay.
Iron Man like the hero. This was about like an alien robot that was sent to Earth and hit its head and became
Oh, that's
nice.
not Iron Man. That's the Iron Giant.
The Iron Giant, yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, wait, okay, Iron Man, the cartoon one. I don't think I've seen that, but okay, I can see that. It's an alien sent. That's not what
Dude.
Iron Man is. Oh, he fell to Earth and he hit his head. That's Iron. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Iron. Were you about to say Vin Diesel on there as well?
No.
He was
What?
no, he was voiced by Vin Diesel. Iron Giant was voiced by Vin Diesel.
Oh wait, the actual giant, the
I
giant robot
the
guy.
Iron Giant, the
Yeah, the
big
Iron
robot,
Giant. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the Iron Giant from the movie, the popular movie, the Iron Giant. He was voiced, all of the grunts and all of the weird sounds that he makes. He's voiced by Vin Diesel. Yeah,
Dude, such a good movie. I
it
watched
is.
it so much growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And then he fixes his bump in his head and
Yep.
turns into the evil fucking, I forget how.
Well, no, no. So
Yeah.
that was he's like he was sent there. He's this super weapon, and he was sent to Earth. Well, like we don't know. Like we assume it was he's a weapon sent there to destroy everything. Um, that's actually I don't think that's ever even explained in the movie of why he's there. They just know that he is, and
Yeah,
he's a super weapon. Um, and he hits his head, like doesn't know what's going on, and then he meets the boy. I don't remember the kid's name, and becomes friends with him. And at the very end, the military is like learns about his existence, and there's like, it's a threat. We got to attack. We got to destroy it before it destroys us. And he's not trying to fight back, but he just like it's just when he's attacked, when there's a threat, he just goes into defense. He goes into attack mode. And like he stops thinking. His eyes go from green to red, and he like his head hunches down. He's like armor, all the weapons come out, and he's not even thinking. And it wasn't until the boy is like he's about to, like he's got this, I think it was like a giant like beam cannon out of his chest. He's like this giant green plasma ball. He's about to fire it, and he like the kid comes up to him and he's like trying to get him to stop, and at first he's aiming a gun, and the kid's just like he's flinching, he's like, but he's not running away. So I'm like, no, you're my friend, or you don't have to do this, you get to choose to be good. That's a whole thing. Because they're talking about being Superman and all that. um
and then didn't
and
he turn back into the good robot when the kid
Yep.
ran out and
Because
they all
he's
thought
he's
he,
there's that scene where he's got a just giant like cannon on his arm, and he's aiming down at the boy, and it's like this kid can fit inside the barrel. It's such a large weapon, and he's just kind of standing there like this of like you get to choose, you are who you want to be. And it snaps him out of it. and he decides to be good.
Yeah.
And then there's the politician guy at the very end. He takes the walkie-talkie from the military guy, and he tells them to fire the missile, and it's like a nuke or something. It's like an atom bomb, and they fire it, and it's locked on to the Iron Giant. And so the Iron Giant like chooses to be good and sacrifice himself. He flies up way up into like the atmosphere, into space, um, so that nobody else gets hurt.
I remember this scene.
Hmm.
And he grabs
And
it, and I think he's flying with it out
he's
into
flying
space.
with I don't know about I don't remember that. I know that he's flying, he does the Superman pose, and he's saying, and he says be good. But I haven't seen
Yeah.
that in such a long time.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that like at
Oh
least
my
15 years.
God. Yeah, same, man. That's excellent recall, by the way, for not having seen it in
Oh,
like
I'm
50.
really good at that, but then I can't remember, like I can't put a name to a face, and that's kind of my job, is to know people and help them with their their financial stuff.
I'm really bad about that too, but I was reading that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, or whatever the hell. And he was
That's a weird
talking.
title for a book.
Yeah, it sounds a little sketch, right? How to Win Friends and Influence People, or
And
something
shit,
like
yeah.
that. I think it. Oh, fuck you, man. All right. But it was talking about how if you remember someone's name, that's like a big deal to them.
Oh
Like
yeah.
and it showed like examples of like leaders that were all known for remembering people's names, and
Mhm.
they like it if you use their name in conversation.
Yep.
And like he was saying, if you really want to knock your mailman's socks off, remember his name, and the next time he comes by, just be like,
Hey Dave, how's
hey,
it going?
yeah, yeah. And so I
Exactly.
tried this, like, because I'm not really that good at remembering names, but to be honest, I don't actually put effort into it at all. It's just
Yeah.
kind of like it either happens or it doesn't.
Yeah.
So I went to back when I was in the army still, I went to the post office on base, and I was trying to ship this package, and this dude, his name was Isaiah, um,
Hmm.
and he was, working the counter, and I was talking to him and just being friendly, and then I asked him what his name was, and of course, he told me. So I remembered it, and like I kept telling myself, like, I have to remember this, I have to remember this, I have to remember this, and then I did. Basically, like anytime I saw him, I instantly, right off the top of my head, Isaiah. I instantly knew it, and I'm
You
really
know
bad
that
at
it's
it.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did call him it. I'm sure he's appreciated it, but he didn't
Well,
really
that's
say
something that sticks
anything.
out, instead of just like, hey, you, or like, oh, hey, thanks for helping me. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, you immediately open with that. It's like you, Jeremiah. It's like, or you, Isaiah, whoever it is. It's like personal. They're calling you out by
yeah,
name, like they know you. It makes it a lot more. It breaks it. It sets it apart from all the normal interactions where it's, hi, how can I help you? It's like, oh, I need to mail a package or whatever it is.
yeah,
I
exactly.
have that. I have that a lot of times with my job, because there's a lot of times where I'm just doing transactions for people, and I'll remember their face. Like if I see them, like I know this person or I don't know this person, and then I'll remember their name. Like I'll remember Bob Bobertson, but then I don't know it's that this dude with gray hair and a um, big goatee and everything. It's usually not until like you have some kind of memorable some kind of conversation that kind of sets it apart for you,
Yeah,
either a good thing or a bad thing. Like there was one guy I was waiting on. I don't think I've ever waited on him, but I've definitely seen him at my branch and I've heard his name before, but he didn't know me. I didn't recognize him right away, but for whatever, I thought he was going to be really upset, at first, just based on our conversation. But at the very end, after it was just like a simple, I think it was a deposit, or I did a transfer for him. Um, and then he was just having a conversation with me about, one of the people, that used to work at that branch that he really liked. And it's just he's just sitting there for like 10-15 minutes of like, oh yeah, this person, they started here, then they moved here and all that. Oh, did you know this person? And then now I absolutely, well, it happened today, so it's fresh in my memory. But I know this person by name and I know them by face. Like I'm gonna remember them a lot
Yeah.
better than just Bob Bobertson, and he's like just some dude.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know why it matters exactly, but it does. I do know that it matters. I just don't know why.
It
It's
makes
like
it
if you,
personal.
well, I mean, but think about it. If you're standing in line to go up to the bank booth to do whatever you're gonna do,
Yeah.
and you see that banker all the time, but you're not sure if they really remember you, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's, you walk up and they're like, "Hi, how may I help you today, sir?" And you're like, "Ah, shit." Maybe it's not that big of a deal, but it's still there kind
It
of. But then if they
yeah.
remember you, it's like, "Oh, hell yeah, man." Like, "Oh,
This guy knows
fuck
me.
yeah,
Like,
yeah."
I mean, they have
But
no idea
why
what our
why does
names
that
are
matter? Like, why is that
usually.
such a big deal to
It's
us?
well, we're social creatures, so they're making it personal. If even if you don't know their name, if
Yeah.
they know your name, you remember them because it's like there's only so many people that work at this place. Like you can go if you anywhere that you frequent, if it's a bank, a store, a restaurant. If you go there enough times and you pay attention, then you're going to recognize the people that work there, and eventually those people will also recognize
Yeah.
you. Um,
It probably has
then
something to do with feeling welcome. I think, like,
yeah,
naturally as creatures or as people that are tribal, we want to feel welcomed by the other
go
people.
here, go.
So maybe it has something to do with that. I don't know.
I think so. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, we're social creatures. We crave like social interaction. So it's when somebody is they're putting the extra effort in, they're making it more personal, then most people have a positive reaction to that. They're going to have a better experience, which is going to make them remember that more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Pretty high.
Anyways, we were talking about God.
Or what was the damn joke? Or the circles? Or no. Time. What is time?
What is, but what is time? If you really think about it on a philosophical level.
Well, that's easy, Mohan. Time is time is fuck.
Time, it's a measurement of fuck.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You know, from a certain point of view, that's not wrong. What you said is true from a certain point of view.
I suppose so. Um, that was a pretty crazy experience, but I probably understood time better during that experience than I would have understood than I'll ever understand time again.
Well, you're kind of how you process information, how you think about stuff has changed. So
Significantly
you
and
could also
drastically.
think that, I mean, you could probably give me a better definition of what time is now than before, because the definition you gave is then was, oh, that's easy. Time is a measurement of fuck.
Well,
If I
it's just
ask you a
like
time, you could probably finish a sentence now.
um probably, but I think the problem is because like when you're under the influence of some type of psychedelic, I don't believe the way you think is changed. I think the shit your mind is open to has been changed pretty drastically. Like you don't normally have access to all this information that's just flowing by you a million miles an hour.
So that I have no experience with this. So I have only, oh, my bad. I have no experience with this. So I'm purely going based off of what the conversations I've had with other people that explain their um, experiences. But I know there's one uh, dimethyltryptamine, I think is what it's called.
Oh
It's
yeah,
DMT.
DMT. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's supposed to, a lot of people that go, that do it, a lot of people come back and they'll talk about the machine elves, and like even people like, I don't know if any studies have gone into this in more depth with like controls of, it's not like one person's like, oh, there's the machine elves, and then somebody else hears that, it's like, and they saw something similar. So, but it wasn't machine elves. It was some other kind of creature. It was machine dwarves, and then they retroactively uh, like merged the two ideas together. But there's a lot of people they explain something similar where a veil of some kind is lifted and they can see not a different dimension, but they see some like they are aware of like a different it's so hard. It's hard to describe. They're aware of a different dimension, reality, a different view of reality that they normally aren't aware of. So that's how they kind of a lot of people explain it is there's some kind of veil lifted where they're it's like if you live your entire life there's a curtain right here and you live your entire life looking this way looking that way and then you do DMT and this curtain gets lifted, this veil gets lifted, and then you suddenly can see this way. That's kind of similar to how a lot of people describe it.
Yeah.
And then they also say that there's a lot of people say that there's the machine elves and they'll try to make a deal with you about giving you information or giving you power or something, and you're apparently not supposed to take the deal. But nobody ever explains what the deal is, or if anybody ever takes the deal, they don't say what they made the deal for. So I don't know.
Oh, Jesus, man. Yeah, I really want to do that one too, but I don't know. I'm very nervous about doing something like that because that's way stronger than any other
Yeah,
psychedelic, you know,
and it's a chemical
besides
naturally
psilocybin
produced by your body,
or not psilocybin.
but it's just I think it's mainly when you sleep. I think it plays
Yeah.
a role in part of your dreams. Of but yeah, obviously when they're doing it in much higher quantities than you would normally
Well, and
find
they're
into the
smoking
body.
it.
So it's is that how you do it? I don't know
Ayahuasca.
how.
Yeah, yeah, you
That's a
smoke it.
drink, isn't it? Ayahuasca is a
Yeah,
drink, isn't it?
ayahuasca is a drink, but DMT, most people just smoke it, um, like out of a crack pipe, kind of a thing.
Okay.
Gives it a bad,
And
it gives it like a bad context, but it's
yeah, anything
that's
that
just how you
you're
smoke it.
in a crack pipe, anything like that, if it's like anything like that,
It's not
it's just
crack,
gonna make
but
it.
yeah,
Well, it's not crack.
yeah, but anyway, so smoking it is very fast and you don't have like a shaman, right? Like you don't have someone guiding you through it. There's
Spirit guide.
no tradition. I think that the structure and tradition of an ayahuasca trip with like some shaman that's built his whole life around it. I think that's probably the way to do it personally. But I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's
I've never
just
tried either.
I mean, I've seen what is it? Michael from Vsauce. He did one. He had another show. I don't remember what the show's called, but he had a thing where he was actually very nervous about it because a lot of people come out to it, they explain it as like they can see things in a different way, they think about things in a different way, and it changes a lot of they well they say that it changes a lot of people. So that was something he was really nervous of. He didn't want to go into it and then lose himself and become somebody else, like something about him change. He was really nervous about that. So the first time they did it, it was really small dosage, and he was very nervous, which that's one of those things that what you take into it kind of is what you get out of it.
Yeah.
But and I think that's why they have to have some kind of guide in it. It doesn't have to be some shaman that's doing like the super traditional way of that they've been doing it forever, however long in this tribe in the middle of um, the Rio Grande, but or wherever it was. I don't remember where it was. Um, but you kind of have to have at least starting out. You probably have to have some kind of guide of like somebody that an anchor point of some kind that's letting you know what's happening, what's not happening, kind of influencing, keeping you on the right track.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, and then the second time he did it, it was a lot stronger, and it's a really good. I think it's like I don't even know if it's an hour long. I don't think I think it's less than an hour. It's a really good video. It's really interesting. I'd highly recommend it to people.
Yeah. What's it called?
I'd have to look it up. I don't know but it's Michael from Vsauce, and he has another series where he does more long form things like that. And one of them is has an ayahuasca. He actually goes down, um, he flies all the way down um to South America, and he gets on like a river boat, and he's going down the river through these like swamp, marshland, whatever it is, um, all the way down until he gets to where this village is. And then the village is like they've kind of monetized it. It's kind of not quite a village anymore. Like they've got huts, but they're like built using like 2x4s and stuff like that. They've got like seat cushions, and it's far cry from just like a normal village, but it is very remote. They don't have like electricity, running water, all that stuff. And there's a guy, people can pay money to be taken out there to do these trips. That's what they do. So this is like the closest thing to a professional drug trip,
Yeah.
ayahuasca trip that you can do.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it probably, for most people, it probably does help being out in nature away from things, because there's a lot of other like stimulants or like outside influences that could really mess with you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what really makes the difference, I believe, is your environment. I don't know about ayahuasca specifically, but I know how vulnerable I was while under the influence of other psychedelics. And whew, um, if anything would have happened, like, I don't know, say someone would have called me and told me that like a relative had passed,
Oh yeah.
or like anything serious, that would have been really bad. I was talking to this one dude at the place where I buy my Delta 8 gummies, the hippie house here in Tennessee. Shout out to all my viewers, all my 3 random people that clicked on my video.
All your
Um,
Tennesseans.
yeah, but he was
Tennesseans.
telling me he did an acid trip. Um, or one of the dudes was telling me he did an acid trip and that he had gotten dumped by his
Oh,
girlfriend.
that's gonna be brutal.
Yeah, while on acid.
Could
And I
be.
was like, oh my God, were you okay? Like that had to be a rough trip, man. And he was like, um, no, I was not fine. I was Vaker acted. It's like, what?
You were what?
Vaker acted?
What's that? I don't know. I've never heard that. What is that?
I'm saying it right, I hope. But
Vakracted?
basically, yeah, basically go to the ER. You're having something up here that's going wrong. They send you off to the
Okay.
cuckoo house.
Either I'm hearing it wrong, or it's just a word I've never heard before.
Yeah, it's basically where against your will, you're put into a mental institute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or
Alrighty. Yeah.
involuntarily. Yeah. So he said he spent a week there. But he told me it was a great trip after he
It was
was
a
there.
great trip after he was there.
Yeah, he
After
said
he got to
it
the
was
loony
really
bin.
chill.
It was
Yeah.
pretty nice.
And then he just spent the rest of the week kind of like regaining his sanity. So I think like that's the thing with psychedelics, because we're getting into this new time now where it used to be all drugs are bad, and now it's like some are bad, some have uses, some are useful, but you have to use very carefully. I think that's how we're starting to view psychedelics. Like
It's
shrooms is good, but be in a safe place, have people,
yeah.
they don't necessarily need to be there, but have them like aware that you're tripping and stay somewhere close, you
They
know.
know if like there's I mean obviously I don't think you can I don't know enough about drugs, but there's some drugs that like things that are more serious, like if you're going to do something that's really bad like heroin, then like somebody is at least aware that you're doing it. They can check on you so that if you just overdose, then they're not gonna just find you a week later. Uh they might actually be able to save your life. There was I hear this very rarely, but there's an idea, there's a proposal for legalizing all drugs. Doesn't matter the harshest thing, like heroin, cocaine, other drugs. Um and but it's legal to do, but you have, in order to do it, you have to go to a facility that does it. So if you want to do heroin, you have to go to basically like a clinic, and where they'll talk like they'll have, it's basic, it's a doctor, and just like they have your medical history, they kind of got an idea of who you are, what your body can take. Like, do they have to get, if they're going to give you like anesthesia, or like if they're going to give you morphine, they know, well, this is like a really big dude with a really high tolerance, and they're going to give him a lot more. If this is like a really small child and he's very weak, no tolerance, then don't give him that much, or else it's going to kill the person. Um, then like they kind of have an idea of your medical background, I guess. They can give you, they make sure they give you the right amount to where you're not going to OD. And then it would also have the idea, it's not just like open season on do whatever drugs you want so long as you go here, because it's not going to encourage drug use. It would just be everybody that's going to do, anybody that's curious and they're going to do it. And it would also be like medical stuff. So it's like you're not going to get anything laced with like weird stuff. It's all going to go through like more professionals. But people that are curious about it, they're going to have, if they do try it, if they're even allowed to, they would be doing it in a safer environment. They'd have more information about it. And then it would also have the intent to get people off the streets, get people out of bad places. They do it here, and they can also get weaned off of it. So if you're caught out in the wild doing it, then you're going to get arrested. You're going to get fined, or you're going to go. Another part of that actually is that if you're caught doing it not at one of these facilities, you don't just go to jail, because that doesn't help. That doesn't help you. Um, Other than get you off the street where you might hurt somebody else. You would have to go to rehab, or you'd have to go to one of these facilities where you do get cleaned up. But the idea was that these facilities, that all the people that are doing these drugs that are destroying themselves, they can go there to do them safely, and with also the intent of weaning them off of it to help them get cleaner. At least if they do keep it as a habit, then it
Yeah.
is a more minor habit. It doesn't rule their lives or negatively affect them as much as it could have.
There's a TED
Very
Talk.
controversial though.
Yeah. There's a TED Talk where they're talking about certain countries, that have ramped up their funding for drug enforcement and stuff, like the United States.
Yeah.
Like how a lot of countries doubled down on the enforcement, while one country, I forget which one it was. It's gonna bug me.
Singapore?
I wanted to say Switzerland, but I could be
I think
wrong.
there's one of
Um,
Singapore. They've done a
Well, there's
lot
one
of,
where they did legalize it.
they did a lot of stuff like that. They legalized a bunch of
They
stuff.
completely
I think.
legalized it.
Yeah.
And not only did they legalize it, they made it so that if you wanted help, you could go get help for free without consequence, but you could also, they would subsidize your wages at a job. So like if you
Oh,
were
that's
a
good.
recovering addict and you were trying to get, back on your feet, you
It's
could
hard
go
to,
get a
yeah.
job. So they would, and people would hire you because they'd only have to pay you half what they would normally have to pay you.
Yeah. And they probably, the
Um,
business would also probably get some kind of tax incentive for helping, just like how we get, if you you get tax incentives for having people with disabilities, or just like there's just all kinds of quotas for that. You can get tax write-offs, or
yeah, no, 100%. So this created, and all right, I'm sorry, I'm trying to recall exactly what this was.
country
If
legalized
you,
everything. And
yeah. So the country legalized everything. They subsidized the wages. If you were a recovering addict, you could, okay. I remember what I was gonna say now. Sorry, I was completely fucking derailed there. They looked at the statistics afterwards and they saw that there was a pretty huge drop in crime. Because obviously, if a lot of the crime they're enforcing or correcting is drug use, that's going to drop dramatically. But they also found a bunch of other crimes had been reduced. People weren't, as willing to go and do drugs now that it was legal, because that removed pretty much everyone that was in it because it was taboo and not something you were supposed to do wouldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was, yeah, that was um what they saw when they did the reverse of what we're doing. Although we're not
That's
doing that now.
interesting.
We're legalizing weed and I think even certain psychedelics in uh
Yeah.
Colorado
Well, there's
maybe.
it's always the law's always going to follow the culture. Um,
Yeah.
and one of the downsides of that is there are a ton of laws that are still on the books, like weird those wacky laws of like, oh, in this state it's illegal to put a pie on the windowsill on a Tuesday for what, or it's illegal to take a shower on a Sunday, or like weird laws like that.
Yeah.
Like back in like way back in the day when they were put on the books, like there was a reason, presumably, that, and it made sense for them to be a law of like you can't take a shower on this day. That means because like the town that you were in only had, or that city only had so much of a water supply, so they needed it for something else on that day. Or you can't put a pie on a windowsill because it might attract animals, because they had like nature was a lot closer back then, stuff like that. There are a ton of laws like that, weird, wacko laws that are on the books that people break every single, like thousands of people, millions of people break every single day. But it's not culturally enforced, so a cop's not gonna, you're not gonna get arrested for that.
Yeah.
But they could.
Yeah.
Um, Now, if a judge or jury were to convict you of that, that's a different case. That's a different situation. But um, there's on paper there's nothing preventing, if a cop just doesn't like you for whatever reason, they're having a bad day and they see you put a pie on that windowsill, they can bust your door down, arrest you, and on paper they get away with it. In
Yeah.
real life, presumably, hopefully that would, one, the cop would never do that, and two, there'd be enough outrage that it would basically just get laughed out of the courtroom.
Yeah. Or hopefully like the other cops, like someone above him would be like, hey, fucking retard, you can't be doing that. Can't be
Yeah.
arresting people for putting pies on doors, dumbass. But then it's
Yeah.
like, do you really want your cops to have that much freedom? Don't you want them to enforce every law? And then we just vote those laws that we don't want to enforce out of existence?
That's a danger. So, well, that we do need to have that ability to vote to get rid of old bad laws, instead of just adding more and more laws, and this book of laws gets more, just bigger and more complicated, and which ones are enforced, which ones aren't. And then if you change the common language, then like if you change what a word means, which is happens a lot in the past decade or so, a lot of meanings of words have changed, so that you don't have to change the law. If you change the understanding of a word or a couple words, then you change what the law is.
Yeah.
um but yeah, there, I mean, that's, so you do, police definitely do need discretion on things, like they have to have some discretionary ability, just like judges have some discretionary ability. That's the difference of, um you have some states that like California has the three strike law, where it doesn't matter what you do. You stole a grape from a grocery store, a single grape, you took that off the vine, and you got arrested. You got a normal, it's a slap on the wrist. Like, you took a grape, it doesn't, in the grand scheme of things, that doesn't matter. That's a, like, the one, probably the most minor thing you could do that is illegal. But you do that three times and get caught, life in jail. As opposed to, you killed and ate a bunch of people, then like that's a lot worse. Going to life in prison for that is a lot worse than just you did a bad thing three times. Um, so that would be where the judges have discretion of this is, and that'd also be the difference between, you just went out like, I feel like killing somebody, so you go out, and you murder somebody just because you're a monster, as opposed to, um, you're out with your kid, with your little kid, and somebody comes up and they're trying to attack them, like they're trying to take the kid or hurt the kid, and you fight them either in self-defense or for the protecting your kid, and you kill that person. That is, our society says that that is less unacceptable, or more acceptable than if you just went out killing for no reason. Like it's if it's
That is
justifiable.
more acceptable than stealing a grape.
Depends on who you talk to, but yeah.
Well, no, because I mean, like in, the
What
perspective of
there's
the
no,
law,
yeah.
one gets you in jail, one doesn't, right? Okay, maybe not. Maybe the grape doesn't get you to
What no,
jail,
so
but there's legal
that's
consequences.
right. That what I guess that depends. Also, if you're in okay, I don't know if in California specifically if that would land you in jail, but I do know that if you break the if you commit a crime 3 times, then if you break a law 3 times, then you life in jail.
Oh wait, that's
But
that's an actual thing
yeah, that's an actual thing in California.
in
And there's a lot of times
California.
people don't know. There's a lot of times people don't know how many like how many strikes they have against them. So like there's some people they were just caught out with marijuana 3 times, or like they shoplift and then got caught with drugs twice, and they're in jail for life, even though they've never hurt anybody directly. Um, they're in jail for life because they broke a rule 3 times.
That
It's pretty messed
wow.
up if you think about it. Like if you like something that's becoming more and more culturally acceptable is marijuana. Um, if you get caught either under the influence or with marijuana 3 times, hey, no, you stop that. Then you can go to jail for life. Um,
Well, not in California.
no, well, I don't think so. No, because California, I think they legalized it. But back in the day, there are people
Yeah.
that they never hurt anybody. They were smoking a plant, or they had a plant on them, and they are put in the same camp with murderers and rapists.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So there's one of like there's one. So my stepdad actually, I've had this conversation with him where I understand both sides of this. I definitely lean against it though. Of on one hand, like they shouldn't if they're doing something a victimless crime, if they're doing it 3 times, they shouldn't go to jail for life for that. But at the same time, my stepdad's view on it, and he's a little bit more um, he's more strict with this kind of stuff of it doesn't matter what they did, it matters that they know the rules. If you break the rules 3 times, you go to jail for life. So it doesn't matter what rules they broke, they chose to break the rules 3 times, therefore they have made the decision that ended them up in going to jail for the rest of their life. I can see both sides of that. I still lean against that of because
We
there are
should just
some
give them the
things
option
that
to leave
yeah
the country. Like, I mean, if we're gonna go that far with it,
yeah we'll just send we'll make a new Australia.
well, seriously, like instead of spending the money to support this person for the rest of their life,
Yeah,
why not just send them like, okay, maybe not even, I'm not saying that we just abandon our people and when they violate our laws, we send them off to other countries and let them handle it. But if you're going to make this person against their will accept all your support and stay inside this room for the rest of their life because they violated your country's laws, well, they're obviously not a fit for your country, so why not send them out of your country,
yeah.
right? I
I
mean, I don't
mean,
know, because they got to go somewhere, right? And like that would
and that
piss
also kind of
me
gets
off
into
if I'm a different country
yeah.
and like you keep sending all your prisoners over to where
Well, that's
they are.
why. Well, first of all, the British didn't care, but also that's why the
Hmm.
Australian or the British put them all their criminals on in Australia. They put it on a whole other island where they didn't.
Oh,
Um,
is that what
there wasn't
happened?
really people. Yeah, it was a prison. It was a. I'm pretty sure. It could be wrong. I'm pretty sure that's how Australia was formed. Is um, the Great Britain they just kept on putting all of their criminals like that was jail was the continent slash country of Australia.
Oh wow, I
That's just
didn't
where they put all
realize
the
that.
prisoners. If that's not true, I've been lied to my entire childhood,
Huh.
and that's actually quite funny. But
Hmm. Well, on that note, I don't know how long we've been talking for. How long has it been?
it's 11:22. We started almost 2 hours ago.
Okay. Well,
Hour
I
40
wonder.
maybe.
You might be my longest podcast so far. So
Whoa.
yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, and I'm really high.
Yeah, it was a fun experience. I'm glad I
No,
came
this has
on.
actually been pretty fun. I really like
I am not
this.
high.
Yeah. Even if this podcast like flops and never takes off, um, I still think it's kind of cool just to sit down with people. This has been pretty fun. Just with like now you, but also Check and Ephraim, and then doing it by myself is kind of weird. I do have a 30+ minute video of me like just fucking talking.
You can just talk to chat.
Yes. But
Eventually, yeah, if it takes off, you'll have a chat. You can have a group of people that can either ask. You can do an AMA that can ask you questions, or you can just be kind of. I mean, you can pick whatever it was. If you want to do a current event, or politics, or celebrity gossip, or science, technology, innovation, whatever, you can pick something. You just like, hey, this is a thing that happened, or hey, this is a historical event, and then people can ask you questions about it, or they can say, well, this didn't happen. Bob Thomas didn't say this, he actually said this, and Bob Robertson didn't hit him with a walking cane. It was a chair, or I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I open myself. Jeez, fuck. I open myself up
Words
to,
and things and stuff.
yeah, words and things and stuff. I open myself up to all these, crazy people on the fucking internet that want me to go jump off a bridge or something,
Well, you gotta probably have chat moderators. Either you do it initially, or if depending, I guess how big it is and how many people you have to like either kick people from the chat or quiet. However it works, you like prevent them
Yeah.
from. They can still see, but they can't
Hmm.
type. Things like that.
Yeah. But no, thanks for coming on, man. And
Absolutely.
see you next time.
I'll see you next time.
Before you go, where can people find you?
Well, they cannot. Um,
What's your
they can.
websites, bro?
My website. Oh, it's actually
Just want to promote you, man.
Freedom Warrior Hacktivist 1776 at AOL.com.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, bro. Well, this is like a new podcast and I'm pretty broke, so I have to do my own outro music. So oh, it's still going. I just
Yeah, it's
turned my
still
video
going.
off.
You just turned your video off.
I'm an idiot. Okay. All right.
I was gonna laugh if